multiple states remain on alert for simultaneous weather events, with the Amazon state in emergency due to the drought and southern state Rio Grande do Sul amid heavy floods. A powerful explosion in Tashkent, capital of Uzbekistan, left 1 dead and more than 160 injured, while it also damaged several buildings. And Burkina Faso's military junta claims to have thwarted a coup attempt almost a year after the country's current leader seized the power. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Razabal from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Brazil, simultaneous weather events. In the state of Amazonas, 45 cities are in the state of emergency due to drought, which is expected to affect 100,000 people. Meanwhile, weather authorities reported that in Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, temperatures of at least 40 degrees were felt, warning human health in the middle of this year's record winter heat. Finally, in Rio Grande do Sul, large floods dangerously raise the level of Lake Guaíba, while an extratropical cyclone is forming that will also hit the neighboring state of Santa Catarina. In Colombia, President Gustavo Petro called for efforts to address inequalities in the mobilization for peace, life, and social justice that brought together thousands of citizens from all over the country. During his speech, the Colombian president affirmed that his government is making progress in the consolidation of peace in the country. He also stated that this administration is aimed at eradicating violence in the country. Moreover, the president urged to work to strengthen education and grant land to rural communities. Petro also highlighted the importance of citizen mobilization and truth in order to achieve social justice in the country.
Our strategy is mobilization and truth. Truth and mobilization. All the truth that is hidden must come out, so that the whole Colombian society understands what their country is, what happened in this recent history, what has happened in Colombia, the country of beauty. Truth and mobilization are the strategy. What for? To put those who have always dominated Colombia, those who have the economic power today, to talk with the people.
Likewise, Colombian President Gustavo Petro affirmed that truth, education, and land are the fundamental axes to achieve a great society.
Truth, education, and land are fundamental axes to have a great Colombian society in the short term. I propose to the establishment, to those who criticize us, to those who are in the opposition, that we are respectful. In this government, we do not chase leaders of the opposition. In this government, we do not persecute leaders of the opposition. In this government, we are willing to talk to anyone who is in the opposition.
During his speech at the March for Peace, Life and Social Justice, Colombia's President Gustavo Petro recalled that the truth is fundamental to achieve real change in the country's society.
More and more people talk about what happened in Colombia, about what happened to all of us. More and more we discover the horror that we have experienced, the years that have passed. More and more we know who are the culprits, why they killed, why they generated a genocide in the Colombian society. More and more the perpetrators of the violence decide to speak their truth. The truth has to make its way, because the truth is what allows us to reconcile. It's what allows us to agree. The truth is what allows us not to repeat the misfortunes of the past. The truth is what allows us to forgive. The truth is what allows us, together with the mobilized people, to change, the real change of Colombia.
Venezuela and Colombia set up the binational macro-business roundtable with the aim of threatening economic and trade relations. During the event, the delegation of both countries signed a memorandum of understanding to deepen the process of trade integration and support for peace in the region. The Colombian Trade Minister, Germán Umaña, said that the balance of the first year of the reopening is positive and that the implementation of the agreement boosts bilateral trade. The Executive Vice President, Desi Rodriguez, stressed that the Colombia-Venezuela binational macro roundtable seeks to generate opportunities for integration and development in the different strategic sectors of the economy of both countries.
So we have to think big. We have to think ahead. We have to think about the future. We have to think that our destinies are unavoidably united, tied together. That those expressions that for 7 years kept the border closed because of a hatred, intolerance, political and moral degradation of some rulers, such as Iván Duque, have no place in the future of Colombia and Venezuela. The only thing that has a place is hope, that there is only room for complementarity, the shared development of our peoples.
The government of Mexico convened the foreign ministers of different Latin American countries to analyze the increased immigration over the last decade. The Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador informed that the meeting will take place next October in Mexico City. Officials from nations such as Guatemala, Ecuador, Nicaragua, Honduras, and Colombia are expected to be among the attendees. The head of states highlighted that an aid and development project will be proposed with the aim of supporting migrants in search of new life opportunities. He then announced that he will visit the United States to outline strategies to help address the displacements in the regions. Russia made a food donation to Cuba on Wednesday through the World Food Programme, WFP, at a time when both countries are strengthening their cooperation and bilateral relations. It is a batch of 650 tons of vitaminized sunflower oil, a donation from the Russian Ministry of Civil Protection, Emergencies and Elimination of the Consequences of Disasters, thanks to the cooperation of the UN's World Food Programme. According to the information provided by the International Programme, in the period 2022-2023, Russia, through different agencies, has provided funds for the WFP in Cuba for more than $4.5 million, with funds destined to contribute to the food and nutritional security of the most vulnerable people on the island and to respond to emergency situations.
Both Cuba and Russia are living today under the sanction regime from the collective West. But we Cubans, as well as Russians, know how to fight. We know how to overcome difficulties, and we know how to win.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you find news in different formats, new dates, and more. All studies coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. The second debate of Republican presidential candidates for the 2024 presidential elections took place in the United States on Wednesday. The debate took place with 7 candidates running to be the party's presidential nominee in 2024, while the front-runner former President Donald Trump remained absent. The businessman remains the favorite to compete with Joe Biden, who, according to a poll by the Washington Post, is currently polling at 51% support, ahead of the 42% given to the Democrat. The polls also indicated that behind Trump, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is the most likely front-runner for the Republican nomination, with 13.3% of voting intentions. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has offered official apologies on behalf of the government for the standing ovation given last week to Ukrainian Nazi veteran during the session of the House of Commons of Parliament in the presence of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He also announced that he will deliver a speech to the lower house in the issue.
In a few moments, I will address the House in front of all Canadians, in front of Jewish people here and around the world, and Ukrainians, to offer Parliament's unreserved apologies for what happened on Friday. The Speaker was solely responsible for the invitation and recognition of this man and has wholly accepted that responsibility and stepped down. This was a mistake that has deeply embarrassed Parliament and Canada. All of us who were in this House on Friday regret deeply having stood and clapped, even though we did so unaware of the context. It was a horrendous violation of the memory of the millions of people who died in the Holocaust, and it was deeply, deeply painful for Jewish people. It also hurt Polish people, Roma people, 2S LGBTQI+ people, disabled people, racialized people, and the many millions who were targeted by the Nazi genocide.
And Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu highlighted the high pace of production demonstrated by the Tactical Missile Corporation, KTRV. At the same time, he expects the pace of production to increase further in certain areas. Shoigu noted that KTRV Corporation is developing motor aviation weapons, including high-precision ones. In addition, the meeting is expected to address the issue of support as well as ways to solve financial problems through the State Defense Order. In March 2023, at the Moscow Region Tactical Missile Corporation, Shoigu reviewed the progress of the implementation of the State Defense Order. During the inspection, the corporation was tasked with increasing the pace of production this year and doubling the production of high-precision weapons. The Russian Defense Minister said on Wednesday that Russian military doctors have been providing medical assistance to Nagorno-Karabakh residents who were injured in an explosion at a crowded gas station. The minister said that victims with burns of varying severity were being taken to specialized medical institutions for further care by the Russian military aviation. According to the head of the Peacekeepers Medical Detachment, 58 people have been evacuated so far. On Monday, an explosion at a gas station near the region's capital, Stepanakert, reportedly killed at least 68 people and left 290 were wounded, while a total of 105 were considered missing as of today evening. The cause of the blast remains unclear, but Nagorno-Karabakh presidential aide David Bayanan said initial information suggested that it resulted from negligence, adding that sabotage was unlikely. In Armenia, the government of Yerevan reported on Thursday that more than half of the population of Nagorno-Karabakh has left their homes and moved to Armenia after the military operation of Azerbaijan. According to the data provided by the Armenian government, in 24 hours, the number of Armenians who have left Nagorno-Karabakh has increased by more than 22,000. Most of the displaced relatives to take them in, while the rest are settled in shelters, hotels, reception centers, and other buildings in the city of Goris, which is located near the border with Azerbaijan. The migration of Armenians from Karabakh continues despite Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev's promise to respect the rights of the enclave's population. In Uzbekistan, a powerful explosion in the capital Tashkent left one dead and more than 160 injured, as well as damage to several buildings. A powerful explosion occurred at 3 o'clock on Thursday morning in the warehouse of the company Ida Logistics, located in the vicinity of the local airport. As a result of the explosion, a 15-year-old teenager died. In addition, 24 people were hospitalized for various injuries, while 138 other affected residents received outpatient medical care and returned home. According to unofficial sources, batteries from electric vehicles that were stored in a bonded warehouse may have caused the detonation. On Thursday, during a parliamentary session, the government of Democratic People's Republic of Korea made an amendment to its constitution with the aim of strengthening its status as a nuclear power to face threats from South Korea, the United States, and Japan. According to statements by North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, published by the country's state agency, the government decided to supplement Article 58 of its constitution with the aim of increasing its nuclear capabilities to deter war and protect regional peace by rapidly developing nuclear weapons at a higher level. The decision came within the framework of the decision of the Supreme People's Assembly, which was held on September 26th and 27th, with the purpose of dealing with organizational issues and to adopt some laws. TeleSUR English launches its own videos on demand sites for you to go and revisit our interviews, sub-stories, special broadcastings, and more. Just go to the top left corner in our website homepage and click on the video option to access our VOD platform. Now we have a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Israeli occupation authorities reopened the main crossing with Gaza on Thursday, allowing thousands of Palestinian workers to reach their jobs in Israeli and the occupied West Bank after nearly 2 weeks of closure. Desperate to return to their jobs, thousands of workers flooded to the border crossing and waited for hours, shortly after Israel made the announcement on Wednesday. The air's crossing is the only crosswalk out of the coastal enclave to Israeli territory for the approximately 18,000 Gaza Palestinians working in Israel. It is worth noting that since 2007, Israel has maintained a sea, air, and land blockade on the Gaza Strip, making life increasingly difficult for the more than 2 million people living there. On Thursday, Burkina Faso's military junta claimed to have thwarted a coup attempt almost a year after the country's current leader seized power by force. Executive spokesman Jean-Emmanuel Ouedraogo said the government informed the public of proven coup attempt that was foiled on Tuesday by the Burkinabé intelligence and security services. The military prosecutor's office in the capital Ouagadougou confirmed that 4 military personnel had been arrested and 2 were still at large. These events follow a series of coups d'etat perpetrated in recent years in former French colonies in West Africa, the most recent ones being those in Niger and Gabon. Gabon's military installed Prime Minister Raymond Sima on Wednesday outlined plans for a national dialogue to be organized this year, which could pave the way for drawing up a new constitution. Nearly a month after military leaders ousted President Ali Bongo Ondimba after 14 years of the helm of the oil-rich country, Raymond Sima told the press conference that an appeal for contribution towards the dialogue could go out next week. Coup leader General Brice Oligui Nguema, who was swiftly sworn in as transitional president, has promised to hand back the country to civilian rule with elections after a transitional period. However, no time frame has been given. Sima also added that contributory ideas will be sought from all categories of the population. That process will be prelude to organizing a national dialogue, which he said he hoped would take place between April and June.
From my point of view, the national dialogue could take place between April and June in this area. Everyone has something to say. Men, women, old people, young people, people in housing states, people in towns, people in villages. Everyone has an opinion, and that's normal. So, starting next week, I'm going to put out a call for contributions. Why do we have a limited time to do this? Because we can't go on forever in a transition situation with a military command. We are a civil society. We belong to institutional bodies, and we have to respect the clauses of these bodies.
We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Ana Rosabal. Thank you for watching.